liver detoxification pathways get compromised by, yes, EBV and especially that methylation pathway, but there's often already a compromise there. And liver detoxification pathways hold restrictions through inherited influence. Our foundations, our DNA, it comes from birth, right? But a lot of other things come from birth. If we're talking about hereditary or, generational kind of trauma, this is what healing's about. There's two things to heal. One is the journey of the soul, which is we are this amazing entity in a sense, right? And we incarnate into this form and we get pre-programmed from birth. So that is the small child that takes on all these beliefs by watching the world, but their view is from other people's views. And their view is from their parents' view, and this whole kind of pathway, right? So a lot of our limitations are not really, I want to say real, but they are. The mind makes them feel very, very real. So healing is about harmonizing the unconscious to the conscious. It's really about deprogramming self in a sense, right? And as I go and harmonize and release these restrictions, like it's almost like I'm not my father. I don't have to live my life in the way that they did because let's be honest, that past generation held so much fear about even anything. Control mechanisms and modeling, all of the lists go on, right? The reasons for some of those hereditary things that were passed through that family line will cease to exist because it's like I've created this new identity. And that's the process of what people kind of are really searching for. It's almost like unlocking self or stepping out of that. So, again, obviously hereditary disease exists. I'm not saying that doesn't, but it is through some of those pathways that it's created, right? But the pathway to all disease is through getting stuck at neurological stress, deep survival stress, which is generally conflict between the unconscious to the conscious, conflict between the identity that was birthed and almost forged to the soul's identity that we really want to kind of step into. Like there's a process of evolution. And so by doing that, I drop a lot of those things along the way. And if I'm not stuck in deep survival stress, I just am a self-healing organism and things function better. But even like, there's another pathway that's acetylation. That's the one when it's blocked is a big one for cancers and things like that. But again, a lot of it kind of comes through from past restrictions. I haven't talked about it in the 𝐌𝐓𝐇𝐚𝐫𝐝 that you're probably researching, the MTHFR gene. Obviously, some family lines and some people will have more restriction with it, but there is an interplay with like the generational trauma and restrictions that come through the DNA. Like honestly, even the DNA is multidimensional. Like when I do healing work, it's like I'm updating DNA all the time. I don't know if you know, but even DNA, like in all the information that's out there, what is it? 2 to 3% is like the coding DNA, right? And the other 98% is they call it junk DNA. And they used to say it had no purpose. They used to say it had no purpose at all. And now there's the study of epigenetics, and epigenetics shows that our past traumas, our generational, all that kind of information, our environment shapes and changes our gene expression, so it gets stored there. A lot of those things that talk about gene mutation, they won't talk about EBV. They won't talk about EBV being a lead cause in deregulation of that pathway. If you've got deregulation in that pathway, amongst other things like even EBV will also interrupt vitamin D, B vitamins and things like that. It's pretty disruption through like, digestive system. And you're not even able to utilize them. So there's so much more to it because with health, you can't just look at one pathway. It's all interlinked, but no one's really talking about EBV. And honestly, 95% of the world's population have it. When somebody has lived a life of suppression, deregulation, trauma, stress, never dealt with any of it, it's going to be high. It always is. So you've got other factors on a body that's not functioning, but people aren't talking about that. Let's just blame that we got it from maybe, same as we're talking about Sean with the devil. Let's blame it on the devil. Let's blame it on it's a gene mutation and it's come from my family line, so I can't do anything about my health. That's disempowerment right there. Don't get me wrong. There's a big process to fix things. I'm not saying that, but it is definitely part of the whole big picture.